all the movements the robot just did were pre-programmed, so it's running itself without a driver.
So we're out here at Roseburg High School today talking with the Roseburg High School Robotics Team, who's going to be headed off to state this weekend. And Ethan's joining us here first. And Ethan, congratulations on you guys making it to state. This is a pretty cool competition, and I was talking with you guys here explaining I have no idea what goes on here. As you guys get ready for state, what are some of the big things you guys are doing to prepare for the competition coming up?
A lot of practice. We have our drivers right now are currently getting ready, like getting a lot of drive practice done, a lot of drive training. We have our programmer right now working on getting the autonomous, like fully set up. A lot of the booking and everything like that, that's a big deal. Along with that, like food stuff and a lot like of preparedness, I guess, because like we're gonna be quite far away and we're not really gonna have access to our funding at that time. So
just kind of the things that even don't necessarily go into the actual competition, but the things you got to make sure are ready to go for you guys as you head up. Competition is going to be up in Portland, right?
Yeah.
The Roseburg Robotics Team is in its second year, and recently the team placed 5th at a super qualifier in Hillsboro. Now Team Scorpion is headed to the state tournament, where their robot will be put through a number of different challenges.
So, this is the glyph pile, and there are 2 different colors. And the goal of the robot is to grab these and put them in this little column here. And if you do it in a specific pattern, something similar to this, but across all of these 3 columns, you can get extra points. And each of these glyphs has a certain point value, and as you stack them all up, you get multipliers and points that build across. And you only have about 2 minutes to do the entire course. And so you can come here, grab your glyphs, put them into the box, and then once 30 seconds is left in the game, if you have a relic arm, which we don't, you can come over, grab the Indiana Jones themed relic, and reach over with your robot and place it in as far away as you can. And there's 3 zones, and the farther you place it, the more points you get. And it depends upon if it's laying down, it's less points compared to standing up, which is more points. And you have these balancing stone, and this is on a bearing, and so it wobbles around, and your robot starts here, and it can drive off, go grab all the glyphs, do that, and then before the match is over, when you drive onto here, it jostles around, it's hard to get on. And if you manage to be balanced on here, you get an additional 20 points. But balancing means that it has to be completely above the ground the entire time. If it's touching, if you can't fit a piece of paper under it, it doesn't count.
The state competition will be judged on more than just how a team performs in the arena with its robot, but also on how they perform as a team.
And there's 3 judges who ask you questions, or you can go through and do like, so our robot, we started out with this, and it didn't work, so we went and did this next. And the judges will be like, okay, so with that, how do you go into like the community and make your voice heard and spread the word of FTC? Because they're really big on like getting the whole like name of FTC out there and
bringing awareness to the program and kind of getting it out there in the public of what you guys are doing. So it sounds like you know, this is a club sport and or a club event, and you guys are building as a team, and so they really want to find out more than how well you guys can build a robot, but how well you guys are working as a team and overcoming these obstacles and building kind of a cohesive unit, and how well you guys are doing at that.
Yeah, and just like, okay, so how do you plan on building your team and your entire like program from now? Because we're mostly seniors and juniors, so we'll be leaving soon. And so they want to know how we're going to keep people coming in and keep our aspect going, and how long we're going to keep our team names and how long we're going to go.
Another aspect of the competition is working together with other teams inside the arena.
It's not just only our robot, we have another partner robot versus another 2. So it's kind of like a 2v2. And so what that means is that at competitions, it involves a lot more camaraderie and communication between teams, because at the end phases, when we have our final championships, you have to pick who you're going to be allied with. And so that makes it so that you have to go and talk to other teams and find out what their strengths and weaknesses are, so that you can have a more powerful team. So even, for example, one thing that we saw at this last competition is the top team they picked another team who may not have been their best choice for a partner, but they picked them just because they thought they were really good, and that ended up kicking them in the butt, because later on, the people who I think they should have picked, because it would have been like a more cohesive partnership, ended up beating them. And so you'll see that a lot of the time, it not only comes down to how well your robot is, but how well you can select your partnerships.
Gotcha.
It's also really cool because this means that robotics is not just for like uber technical people, but me personally, I might not be the most technologically savvy or programmer type person, but there's a place for me because you have to have communication skills and be a people person and that sort of stuff.
Team Scorpion is made up of 7 members, but the Roseburg Robotics Club has grown in popularity and has almost 40 students and 4 teams.
So whenever I say robotics to anyone, everybody kind of like perks up and says, "Oh, robotics, that sounds interesting." And I think robotics is a natural draw to most people.
Yeah.
And so I think that I can see the team growing a lot in the next few years.
The growth of the program has meant a need for more and better equipment to help the teams train for its competitions.
This year, we actually got this arena donated to us by our league, which is the SOAR League here in Roseburg, Southern Oregon Robotics.
Gotcha. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. And it was really nice because we're moving on. They're like, "Hey, do you guys want an arena to practice in?" Because unfortunately, we didn't have enough funding to purchase this arena in the first place. And so we set this up here, and ever since then, we've been taking off, like being able to practice every day and actually see how things work. Because when we first started out, with a kit and an idea, and we just had to run with it. And then we didn't, unfortunately, have a lot of time to test with this, and we had a lot of limitations when it came to getting funds with court due to motor limitations and part limitations. And then we came across a arena, and now we've actually been able to really test out our ideas and push the limits on everything, and we've come so far. And this past competition, especially coming up with this new robot design, taking us from just 2 rows to a full cipher, getting on the plate, and a solid autonomous. So it's really cool.
As the team gets ready for the state competition, programmer Robbie Thompson thinks back on many of the struggles Team Scorpion has had to work through this year.
Well, at least the program we use, it has a tendency to break. So the color sensor is very fickle with how you use it and stuff like that. Like a small variable can break the code and make it not usable again. So ridiculous amount of trial and error.
So you guys built that in 3 days.
Yeah, it's kind of funny where we started from. Joe and I actually came up with our first design with a couple of dresser drawer sliders, and we're just sitting on the floor at Home Depot just playing with it. It's like, how can we make this work to fill up a column? And we went from that to filling up an entire box in under a minute on a good day. So
How long did it take to design what you guys were going to do before you built it?
ooh.
So the initial when we made our first robot, there was a lot of thinking about how are we going to do this, what should we do, and those ended up being some of the worst designs we had. And then this one, just doing some research and kind of seeing how do other machines handle this type of thing with grabbing things, lifting them, throwing them, and then doing some research on YouTube, seeing some other teams that are really successful, and so that took not even a day of research and design, and then about 3 days to build it, and then this is the best one we've had. So yeah,
Do you have other prototypes that are sitting in a closet somewhere that failed, and you
That
guys are
is
just
a
like, all right, off to detention with you guys?
That is a prototype.
You can't waste anything, so everything that doesn't work gets put back into other stuff.
Yes.
Every nut or bolt, piece of wire, scrap of metal, motherboard, and even cell phones are needed to make these projects a success. But that all comes at a price, so the Robotics Club is coming up with creative ways to raise funds.
There's a lot of other leagues in the state that actually kind of get funded similar to like a sports program. They get funding directly from the school. We're very, very new. This is only our 2nd year doing anything with robotics at RHS, so we haven't gotten into that stage yet. But some of the first things we did to start out and really get the program going is applying for grants and doing things like that. And there's the Robotics League in Oregon is really big and very supportive of new teams. So being a new team and applying, you can get parts. That's just kind of a standard among all robotics programs. If you don't have any parts, our new team want to start, they will give you parts, which is super cool.
Yeah.
But in order to keep growing and continue on this trend that we've been going to state and super regionals, things like that, we've been needing more parts. You know, things break just from being in competition in a heavy battle, basically, with other robots. That things break, you need more parts. So another thing that we've been doing here locally is we used to have a recycling program at RHS, but that slowly dwindled away. Things have gotten things have kind of fallen apart with that.
Yeah.
And so we've decided that we were going to make boxes and put them in all of the classrooms for kids to drop their bottles and cans and glass with the new installment of the bottle drop business that's opened up. And we've projected that, you know, just a single box being in Mr. Weir's classroom, kind of testing out how the fundraiser was going to work. It gets filled up in about a week, which is about $4, and we have about 80 classrooms on RHS. So hopefully it will be a really good fundraiser as we put them in all over.
Team Scorpion will compete at the state FTC competition in Portland on February 24th and 25th.